Today's digital content world is so complex, but also, obviously, for some, so easy to take advantage of. To discuss media, music, TV, piracy, mobile distribution channels, and more trends into the digital entertainment ecosystem, we have invited Mattias Hjelmstedt, founder of Magnet TV and partner at Hjelmstedt Holding, Guido Baumhauer, managing director, distribution, marketing, and technology at Deutsche Welle, and Didier Stoessel, CEO of Nova Broadcasting Group. Please give them a warm welcome at the stage of Webit.Festival 2016.
Take the one in the middle.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. So, the presentation of all of us were pretty short. Doesn't really say why we're sitting here on stage talking about the future of media. So I think it's just about right us telling us why. Myself, I've been in digital media and video since 1994. First in computer gaming. Then I built a big video-on-demand platform way before Netflix hit. And the last years I built up a company called Magnet TV, which is one of the larger OTT players globally, distributing content from almost any country to any country, and specifically in Germany, in UK, and in Sweden. Nowadays I invest in companies, specifically in the media sector.
Shall I take over? Yeah. My name is Guido Baumhauer. I'm the Managing Director of Strategy, Marketing and Distribution at Deutsche Welle. So who of you knows what Deutsche Welle is? DW. Okay, and for those of you who have free Wi-Fi and feel already bored by what I'm saying, download our app. It's splendid, and it is in Bulgarian as well. As you know, Deutsche Welle offers content in 30 languages. But maybe Didier, you want to go first, and then I'll take over my shall I take my slides now?
Yeah.
Okay, just very quickly. I don't like to sit that much. It's a short presentation. Usually, if a public broadcaster is invited to a stage like this, we have to play the role of a dinosaur. Those who die, those who were there before and never understood what it was like. We went online in 1994, and yes, I did have longer hair by then, that's true. Since then, many things have changed, so change is a constant part of what we do of our daily business, but there's hardly anybody who really loves change. If you ask people, you like change? Yeah, great, I'm a courageous person. But then, if things really change, people get a little bit concerned about what is happening. So the best thing you need to do, the first thing you need to do is enable the so-called skill shift. That is easy. There are new skills. There were TV producers before, and now they have to produce multi-platform. So they have to work with different programs, different setups. That's kind of easy, although some might not like that. But the hard part is to reach the minds of the people, to enable the mind shift, to understand that the time when there was a silo called TV, a silo called radio, a silo called online, these days are long gone. There's no way to keep your content for yourself and not give it to the other platform. But that requires a completely different thinking. And just, I think, 2 presentations ago, you have already heard something about this here. Content is king. Well, I cannot spare you this one because I'm using the phrase content is king since 1996, which tells a little bit about my age. Now, but if content is king, we were just hearing that distribution is King Kong. I disagree. Distribution is queen. Engagement is King Kong. So you have to think in completely different terms. You have to understand if you're not engaging as a journalist, as a producer of content, if you're not engaging with the people that we call people, content we produce at Deutsche Welle is made for minds. So if we do not have any relevant content, and if you're not willing to engage with us, we do something wrong. And then there would be no future for media, but there is. Isn't it, Didier?
I'm Didier Stoessel. I'm the CEO of Nova Television and chairman of NetInfo. It's clear that linear television We are the biggest in Bulgaria, but everyone tells me that linear television is going down. So being the biggest of something going down is not good, which is why, as you can see, there is something called NetInfo. It's a strategic partner. It's our company as well. And we knew 3-4 years ago that we had to go digital, that content now, it's not a question of which platform it is on. Video consumption is increasing day after day, and we need to be able to offer it in any ways you want to consume it.
Right. Before looking forward, it's sometimes good to just look at where we are today and how we came here. So if you look at the last 5 years, what's been the biggest shift for you?
The biggest shift internally at Deutsche Welle was definitely to fully embrace the understanding that there is no TV as such and there is no radio as such. It's all about having content and trying to understand, learning from the audience and not considering it as an audience. As a public broadcaster, people tend to stand on top of a mountain and broadcast from there to their audience, and then this is the right content, eat it or die. That's not it. If we don't understand what people want, there is no reason any longer to be there. So the USP that many public broadcasters used to have, we were there, we were always there, is long gone. But to take that shift into an organization was the toughest part. I mean, and then that's the moment when being a traditional broadcaster can be a burden. But I think we've managed that quite well. At Deutsche Welle, we have content in 30 different languages. So that means from Bulgarian, of course, to Amharic, Pashto, Dari, German, English, Chinese. We have everything that is out there, but it needs to find its market. It needs to find its audience, every single content. So we have to define this question and be flexible and try to understand if a market is changing. If we don't change quick enough, we're out.
And for you?
I mean, for us, the great thing in Bulgaria is that we can watch what happens outside, we can learn from it, and we can then make the right decisions. If you look for linear television, for example, you have in most Western European countries a very steep decline of the number of people watching television. That's not the case in Bulgaria yet, but we know it will be coming. We know that AVOD, advertisers funded video on demand, SVOD, a la Netflix and others, all of this, delayed viewing, all of this will increase and increase. Good news is in Bulgaria it's not yet there in terms of decline in the number of people watching TV, but it will happen. So, what we've done is basically 3-4 years ago, we decided to plan and be ready for the future, because this future is here today in Bulgaria and will only accelerate. And we are ready in the sense that on top of linear television, I believe we have the digital platform with the highest reach in this market.
So looking at this in general, if you look at something like Netflix, they came out yesterday and said they now have 81 million paying subscribers globally. And if you look at a global company, we say, well, something like Facebook have 1 billion, but that's not producing and paying and taking care of content. It's actually, if you put it in perspective, Comcast have like 30 million, which makes Netflix with their 41 million in US probably the largest pay TV subscriber base that exists today. How do you compete with this?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think we all need to understand that when we pump out figures or data, this is not it. I mean, I could tell you now, well, Deutsche Welle reaches 120 million people every week, which is a great figure, which is wonderful, which makes us, the world's second or third biggest international broadcaster. But what does that mean? Nothing. If people have no reason to use the content we have, so how do we factor relevance of content into this? And I mean, you can't just compare, how do you compare clicks to views to, all these figures. So I think it's a completely different understanding when it comes to metrics, when it comes to measuring relevance of content, which is far more important. And there's the trap is, if everybody's just going for these huge figures, and then investors would come in and say, wow, wonderful figures, that's even higher than the others, so I give you more money, that's not enough. So we always need to ask ourselves the question, is there is there a niche for this content, or is there a market for this? Are people interested in this? And that's why engagement is so important, to really get the information in. What is it that you need, what you do not find otherwise, and then we need to provide it. You know, not the whole world is not just the World Cup where everybody says, well, everybody wants to watch this and you know, see Germany win it, probably.
It's France this year.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, actually. In my old company, we do measurements, and we're able to see measurements and how people actually view content. Mm-hmm. And you see that local content is very, very important. So you have a player like Netflix who also went out and say they will produce one movie or one TV series and launch it weekly. So they will launch one new thing every week going forward when it comes to content. But it is, as they look at it, global content. And local content, in general, has higher viewing numbers in that country than the global content. So I have a question for both of you, and that is, how do you, over time, keep this local content over the years to come? Because I know local producers feel that they have a problem of getting their distribution out for their content compared to this big global content. Mm-hmm. But you need to have both.
Right. Shall I start? I mean, we do co-produce with producers worldwide. I mean, and as we have content in 30 different languages, that means we have partners in basically all countries. We have worldwide, we do have 4,400 partners. These can be infrastructure providers like cable operators, or these can be TV networks where we co-produce content, and we try to, because it's exactly, it proves the point, you need to localize the content or make it relevant, because it has a relevance to the people in the region where they live. So yeah, we cooperate, and again, this is a completely different mindset from a journalistic perspective. It's not the journalists at Deutsche Welle who know how to do it right, but who have to really engage with partners, engage with others to produce content together, and by this make really good content. And to give you one very short example, we have a talk show called Shabab Talk, which is in Arabic. Now, the Arab world has, I mean, loads of content, tons of content. There are over 500 channels on a satellite who just do information in Arabic language, and we are one of them. So why would anybody watch our content? We co-produce a talk show called Shabab Talk, and it's now been rated in the second year the best talk show in the Arab world, and it's something we're proud of. And that's not because we were so brilliant, but because we are really engaging with the audience and try to listen and understand and realize there are topics out there that an Arabic channel would not touch, would not cover. Like topics like sex before marriage is something that an Arabic channel will not touch. We do that, and people are interested in this, so we get content that people want, and that helps us, you know, to give them a good reason to use it.
Also, I have another interesting topic, and that is distribution platforms. Do they matter?
Maybe on the local content.
Yeah, and how do you get things out? And you mentioned very interestingly to me here about consumer shifts in a show you produce from live to catch up, and how do you produce these things going forward, and how do you see this consumption shift?
I mean, first on local content, I mean, it is clear that it is the differentiating factor. If you can produce content which touches the audience, by definition, you will have the audience stay with you, whether it's on TV, whether it's on digital, in digital forms. And if we look at Nova itself, every day we produce 16 hours of local content. Out of that 16 hours, because you were talking about producers, half of it is produced internally, half of it approximately by outside producer. And that is our DNA and different differentiating factor. Then we try to produce for the TV and exploit on digital. I mean, you're watching probably, some of you, Sofia Day and Night, which is every day at 10 o'clock with our advertising. Approximately 700,000 people watch it every night. Another 18 million video views have been recorded on our digital platform since the launch of the show. So that's one example. The other example is, you might have seen, we launched a web serial last week, Neta Cabrat. It's only for Vbox. First 2 episodes have been put on air. You can watch it. Just type it into the search engine. We're not using it on TV, but we use the TV to promote it. So the two together is how things work. And why do they work like this? Because at the end of the day, reach, you cannot today get the reach you want if you don't do it across every distribution platform. If you take television, if you are an advertiser, for example, if you spend enough target rating points to get your message through, you will get to 70–75% reach. If then you continue to do the same campaign on digital platform, you will gain another 5, 6, 7% in terms of reach. So you'll make your campaign more efficient and having a higher reach. The platforms go together. There is no more, I'm a TV guy, you're a digital guy. It doesn't exist anymore. We are basically video guys, and we're there to produce the videos that you want to watch, whether it's on a big screen, on a mobile, on a tablet, anywhere you want to watch it.
So I have a big question actually that I've talked about before, and that is fragmentation. Mm-hmm. If you look at the media space today, and probably the next year or two, since we're talking about the future of media, it's very fragmented. Today, if you're going to consume television in any country, you have 10 different apps. You have a Netflix app, you have a local broadcaster app, you have a YouTube app, you have a music app, you have all of these.
A Deutsche Welle app.
A Deutsche Welle app, you have an RTL app, you have all of these things. It's basically a fragmented behavior, which means that everybody's losing. Because before, in an aggregated television world, television channels were actually aggregating and helping each other. You jump from one out to the other, but you didn't jump out of the platform. How do you see this future panning out? Do you think it's going to be more fragmented and the user is going to be spread out even more? Or is it going to be more aggregated and easier of use for the consumer?
I mean, if I speak about Bulgaria, in Bulgaria, today there are only two television channels able to give you 45% daily reach. And this has not changed a lot over the last few years. The numbers are still the same because, as I've said at the beginning, in Bulgaria, the number of people watching TV has not gone down yet. And the time they watch TV every day is pretty similar today as it was 5 years ago. Very different if you look at Sweden or America, I guess, but in Bulgaria it's still the case. So the fragmentation, yes, is happening, but if you put the two biggest television channel, linear television channel in this country together, you still have 60% market share of viewing every night in prime time. This is still very big, so we're not feeling it. I'm very clear that we will feel it sooner or later, but we're not feeling it yet. Will there be more fragmentation? I don't know, because I think content quality is what matters, and content costs a fortune to produce. So it's not that easy for you to do a vlog. Okay, maybe for a while you'll be successful, but after that you need production means, you need big budgets in order to do the right quality. So I think that that's what will keep the market approximately stable, because you need extremely big investments to produce very good content.
There's definitely not one answer to this question. I think we'll be seeing both developments depending on the country you're in, yes, depending on the different usage patterns. And I think the hardest part for all of us, be there on the distribution side, on the content production side, is to be flexible and to be aware of what is happening, and then being bold enough to take a decision and do something.
I mean, as a public broadcaster, reach is different for you than it would be for a private one, because you need the advertisement, you need the ratings, you need all of these things. But when you're a public broadcaster, of course you want to know your reach, but it's not really the same thing, because you can basically put it out in a different way.
I hate to disagree, but I think if we're getting public money, and if we do not give any value back for this, if there is no value for that money, then why should we exist? So I think it's, I mean, again, this is a very crucial thing, especially with as you're an international broadcaster, why should anybody be interested in having content in all these languages that most people don't speak? So there must be a reason. And we believe that freedom of speech, for example, is something that is important. And there are markets where people are not able to get information, get unbiased information, impartial information, balanced views. And we think it's worthwhile to provide this. But if we don't reach the people, then we fail, and I don't want to fail.
And when it comes to measurements, I mean, I guess for you it's very, very important to know who's viewing, how long, etc., because that's part of your business model. So if you then are having your content spread out through different platforms, and the old way of doing this, just so everybody know, is that you had a Nielsen-rated institute putting out 1,600 boxes to people home, and then they sampled 1,600 people's viewing habits to the rest of the world or the rest of your country. That's not how it works in digital media. What do you think about this, and how will this actually, what will happen here?
I mean, measurement is the biggest question mark going forward, at least for a private broadcaster, because we need one way or another to monetize our digital audiences. Nielsen is kind of at the forefront, you mentioned them, of this kind of measurement by trying to measure you watching TV, you watching the same show on VBox 7, you watching the same show on delayed, and trying to aggregate the viewing along those three mediums and trying for us to monetize it. It's at the very beginning, as you know, even in the US, they have now total ratings figures, they call it, which aggregates catch-up for 7 days or catch-up for 3 days, which aggregates video consumption on platforms like YouTube, Facebook, VBox, Nova Play, and others. But it is at the very beginning. This is the real challenge in order to have enough monetization so that there is enough money to put into extremely good content for all platforms.
Right. So as an end, I will ask you a question, but I will put it in a little bit of perspective first. If you look at the content market today, you now have big players like Apple, they're putting out their new Apple TV. You have Amazon, who yesterday actually went out and said we're going to compete with Netflix. We now have a subscription service in US. The problem with them comes back to a little bit of the fragmentation. Amazon refuses to be on Apple TV. Netflix looks to be everywhere. And what you're seeing is that you're going to have a hardware fight for the living room. You're going to have a hardware fight for the mobile. And then you're going to have a content fight who goes to which of these devices. So if you look 5 years from now, how do you think we consume content?
Again, probably in many different ways. I'm sure there will be some markets where there will be a sort of a consolidation, and all of a sudden, out of 5 set-top boxes, there might only be one. In other markets, it will be completely different. So I think the major question still is, if I have content and I want to reach out to the people and I want them to consume it, is it not okay for now to be platform agnostic? Is it not the only choice that we have, instead of saying, no, I don't want to give it to you, I don't want to give it to you? I think as a content producer for now, you really need to make sure to be out there. And that means to have these funny negotiations with the players that you've just mentioned, which are everything but fun. But at the same time, that's what needs to be done. You need to reach the people, and they take the decision. The consumer, you take the decision what kind of content you use on which platform. It's not up to me. I just have to make sure I am where you are. Otherwise, you cannot access our content.
I mean, the way we view it is simple, which is we need to be everywhere. Take Nova Play, which is our catch-up platform. We are on Chromecast now, which means that you can have it with a toggle on your main screen. We have an app, obviously. We have a mobile version. We're planning to be on Apple TV. We're planning to integrate it into every set-top box for every cable operators so that you can access it. If we have great content and you want to watch it, I make money. So why would I not be on every platform?
So, sorry about running over time. I have one more.
Done.
So if you've ever had the possibility to use a geo-unlocked service like Apple TV. So you could bring your home content on the same television that you could bring American content on, or you could buy the content on different countries. Piracy would actually be almost non-existent because convenience of having everything at one press really trumps the free. So what do you think? Will geo-location and blocking break down the next 5 years, or will it be upheld?
I mean, I think the story should go to the rights holders. And I mean, if someone, let's say, someone who holds the rights for football, I mean, super expensive rights, just wants to make as much money out of it as possible. So I'm sure that they will look into the issue very clearly and make sure that geolocation will still be out there. And that might make especially the convenience issue a lot harder to reach. But I mean, from a consumer perspective, you're right. I mean, if I have everything on one platform, easy to use, can't beat that.
With that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have questions?
Applause.
Yeah.
No, let's go.